Hi, friends. This is Wendy Harrop, and welcome to the Say Yes to Yourself podcast. On the Say Yes to Yourself podcast, you'll hear stories from women just like us who are adding the practice of saying yes in their daily lives in big and small ways, and as a result, are experiencing the truth that everybody wins when you say yes to yourself. Saying yes to yourself is a graceful unfolding, an intentional becoming of the very best version of you. It is my hope that in these conversations, we are able to find our truth and be inspired and empowered to live our very best lives. I'm so excited to go on this journey with you, and I look forward to finding a bit of our own story in each other's. Hey friends, welcome back to the podcast. I'm so happy to have you here. Before I introduce today's guest, I just wanted to thank you so much for your warm wishes as we went to California this weekend, Amelia and I, to celebrate my dad. He actually passed in November of 2020 during the height of the pandemic, and we were not able to gather as a family to celebrate his fabulous life. And so we just did that this weekend, and it was really good. It was really great to be with everybody, and I'm just really blessed to have such an amazing family. We were together for 2.5 days, no TV, even though March Madness was happening, no phones, all of my nephews, all my siblings. It was just really dreamy. We played cards and games and laughed and shared stories about my dad, and it was just a really special time. And I'm just grateful for that. And I'm grateful for you as well, and thankful for just the ways that you reached out with your love and support as we made that trip. So thank you very much for that. And speaking of love and support, my guest today, Nicole LeBlanc, is an amazing photographer and really just a phenomenal woman. She is very gifted at what she does, and she's such a beautiful visual storyteller. But I'm also really, again, grateful, it must be the theme today, for the ways that she not only connects the people that she is photographing to the event that she's photographing, but she really brings people together. And she has been such a beautiful force in my life in the ways that she's connected me with other fabulous women, female entrepreneurs, just good friends. And we're also a part of the Perfectly Planned Events and More vendor collective that our guest last week, Jess, is from as well. So this is another wonderful person in that group. But Nicole is just a really special human, and she knew she wanted to be a photographer when she was 6 years old. So she has been following that dream, and she has been taking leaps of faith as she has grown her business, and she's just really special. And I'm excited to have you get to know her a little bit during today's conversation. So sit back and enjoy the latest episode of Say Yes to Yourself podcast with my sweet friend, Nicole LeBlanc. Nicole LeBlanc, I am so excited to be seeing your beautiful face this morning, and I'm really happy to have this conversation. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
Thank you. So just before I hit record, we were starting to talk about the new year and ways that we'll be saying yes to ourselves in 2023. And I would love to hear just what is on your heart, how you're saying yes to yourself in this particular season. What do thoughts of the new year bring up? What's in store? All the goodness.
Well, I guess I'll start with my photography because that is my bread and butter, I would say. The weddings that I am doing, that I have done in the past. I mean, I used to be a wedding photographer when I first started. I opened my studio up 10 years after that. And at the time, I was so busy running my business, I kind of put weddings on the back burner and focused solely on the families and the kids. And then in 2020, I decided to put weddings back on my list of offerings. And of course, the pandemic hit, and we all know how that went. So
that's the year that I decided I should retire from being a wedding planner, since
right,
there weren't any.
exactly. And so it actually was okay because it eased me into the wedding industry again. And I was able to, work with brides in a really difficult situation and dip my feet in again with them. And so I started booking weddings again, and I just love it. It's a lot of work, as you know. And I started booking them in 2021, and it went really well. And so I'm already booking for 2023, and I have people asking about 2024. So I'm really excited about that. There's other areas in my business that I do. I take art photos. So just as a pleasure, I'll go and take pictures of landscapes and just things that I love. And I started selling digital copies of those where people can just go and purchase and download them. So I really want to focus on that in my downtime and kind of kick that off again. And then I also have a little side hustle on Poshmark that I sell clothes and do a little consignment. And I want to grow that on my off season and kind of kick that off this year. So
I would love to hear more about that. As we were both in the wedding industry, so I feel like I want to talk about your photography, but I know a little bit about that. I've never heard of Poshmark.
Oh, okay. So Poshmark is a online store where you can upload your goods. It used to just be clothes, but now it's more kind of turned into a clothes and home goods and stuff like that. So you post your used items. It can be used or new, but I have mostly used, good quality clothing that I post on there, and I sell it online. And so people follow you and they purchase my clothing, and I ship it out, and Poshmark takes 10% of it, and I make the other commission. And it's a nice little side gig, and I love doing it. And I love shopping for my own consignment clothes, and then I use them and then I sell them. And
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that so much, because I have things that, maybe I'm finished with them, but they feel like, oh, I hope the person that's at the Salvation Army today realizes how special this thing is that they're about to buy for 22 cents or whatever.
exactly.
So I love that.
Yeah. And so I have boxes and boxes of clothes that need to be photographed. So I will set them up on my vintage mannequin that that someone gave me out of an old barn, out of an old historic house in Berlin. She found that and thought of me, and she gave it to me, and we named her after the house. I can't think of the name right now. I'll have to think of it, but I will let you know. And I set up cute little backgrounds in the studio and photograph the clothes and post them.
Gosh.
And so, yeah,
I'm sure your clothes sell faster than other people's because you've styled the whole shoot as well.
Yeah, I do. I try to, make it like a brand, and it's actually, I have a brand name. It's called Miss Pepperpot. And
You're so cute.
thank you. My husband, it's a nickname that he used to call me, Miss Pepperpot. And it kind of stuck. So that's what I named my little clothing business. And
You're so
right,
good.
and it's nice because you can turn it off and on. So if I get really busy, which I do, from after spring into December, I turn it off and then I'll turn it back on again. And then I'll just start, like I actually sold something last night. So I have to go package that up and drop it off at the post office. And, I make a little money.
That's so great. Well done, Miss.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited about that. And I would like to grow that into a local little consignment area shop around here. Someday. That's like my retirement. That's what I want to do when I retire.
Ooh, how fun. I love the entrepreneurial mind is just so fun to me.
Thank you.
Like I know it's very painful for some other people to hear, but when the ideas start to come and then you're in a group of people that are also idea factories, it's just, it's so fun.
It is.
And we're in this collaborative called Perfectly Planned Events and More. Nicole and I are in this together. And one of the things that I'm looking forward to in 2023, and also something I'm really grateful for in the past couple of years, is just this intentional action I've taken to curate the community that I desire. So when we are in one of our monthly get-togethers, just the energy of these female small business owners
Absolutely
that are spurning each other on, encouraging each other. And it's so beautiful and it's so uplifting, but it's also so brilliant because each of us brings a different element to that particular collective, that when we have an idea, we don't even have to spin on how we could make that happen, because there's 7 solutions to 7 problems to whatever that new idea was sitting at the table. So we can actually make it happen and take beautiful pictures of it and make a cocktail and have food and everything. It's so fun.
It feels like everything executes itself when we're together. Like you said, an idea pops up and someone says, yes, go for it. That's a great idea. Let's see you do it. I can't wait to hear all about it. And then next thing you know, it's happening.
Right. And it's so fun.
It is. Right? It is. I love our little group. I absolutely love it.
It is. And I love those great ideas because they, there's 100 of them. And it might be a great idea for like right now. So let's do it. And then, all right, well, that sounded fun, but I don't need to do that again. Or, oh my gosh, I had no idea that was really going to meet a need. I'm going to do it again, but in this bigger place. Or I'm going to do it again, but not when it's so hot or whatever. Like, it's just this iteration. But none of us ask each other, well, how are you going to make that happen? Or what are you thinking? Or aren't you doing enough already? None of those sentences come out when we're together.
Exactly. It's like, go for it, girl. Right. I got you back.
Right. Oh, curating the community that we want is of utmost importance.
I feel like you've all come into my life in such a time where I was ready to step out of my comfort zone, and it gave me a little push to just keep going and doing it and being excited about it again and changing my mindset about where I want to go. Because I've been doing this a long time. So my photography business for it's really the only thing I've ever done. I've always done either worked in a Photoshop, a lab, in the studio. Everything has evolved around pictures. And so I've just, you need new ideas, and you need a push sometimes. And when you work by yourself, it can get lonely. So having a community of people just helps me so much to just stay excited about it, about everything.
I totally agree. So in coming into the new year, which I love this time of year, I love thinking about, again, I'm an idea factory. So a new year just means, ooh, what are we going to do that we've never tried before? And it's so fun. And I love beginnings. Beginnings are my favorite. I think it's why I so enjoyed wedding planning and meeting my clients right after they got engaged, or they're at the beginning of their planning process. So I could be a part of that and just dive right into all the dreaminess that they desired for their big day. And then also, once that day arrived, there's a beginning to the day. And then there's a beginning of their life together. So I feel like it's just this perpetual beginnings. And I feel like leading into a new year does that as well. Are you the kind of person that chooses a word for the year, or do you have an intention that you're setting for what you would like to see happen?
No, these are all ideas I've been sitting on for a while. And so I just feel like now's the time. I don't know if it's age thing. I just am ready to just get all my ideas out there, and put it all together and just see what happens and see where it takes me.
Oh, that's beautiful. So what are you hoping to focus on?
Mostly the weddings. I'd really like to kind of fall into booking more weddings on the weekends. Kind of work smarter, not harder, is kind of been my motto for the last 5 years. And that's what I'd like to do, is just work less, make more. And weddings is my little bread and butter side thing I do on the weekends. And yeah, I think that's my motto. It's my husband's motto, and he's been telling me that for 15 years. So
they're so smart.
I'm finally listening to him.
Oh, it's so good.
And yes.
What kind of brides do you like to work with, or what kind of weddings?
I love all weddings. I love the backyard wedding because they're so intimate. And then I love the big, grandiose, country club wedding because it's just so beautiful. I cry at almost every wedding.
Same.
I will be behind that camera and I'm crying with the family.
Yep.
And you're dancing with your dad, I'm crying. You're doing your vows, I'm crying. And it's just such an emotional day. I just love being a part of it. And that makes me happy. So really, all weddings are special. I think the industry has changed a lot. Since COVID, I feel like the weddings are smaller, more intimate, and that's kind of nice to see too. And they're so creative. Everyone is so different. It feels like anything goes now. The traditions have shifted, and so that's kind of nice to see. And yeah, so
we share so much of the same feelings about weddings. I love. And so it never got old. Every time I saw the bride in her dress for the first time, I was crying. And I always gave my brides a vintage handkerchief on their wedding day. And then I would have an extra one for their mom. And then of course I had mine, which matched my dress because I'm a professional. But it's such a beautiful event to be invited to be a part of. And I think that the fact that I felt like that, I can understand what you're saying when you have a similar feeling. And really, that's the kind of vendor that you want. You want someone who wants to be there, who is so excited to celebrate you, who is so excited to capture this milestone moment and collection of moments, and then to be able to really, document and translate this gorgeous love story that they got to float through their day because you were capturing everything that was important to them. I think that's really beautiful.
Exactly. And the emotion, because I'm such an emotional person, I feel like I try to capture the emotion through the camera. And that's, if I can look at their gallery at the end and I'm still crying, I think I did my job.
Oh, I love that.
I used to apologize to people and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm crying. I'm just," and then, someone said to me, "Don't ever apologize for being emotional. That's who you are. That's what makes your photography so special." And so I always remembered that. And now I just cry my eyes out whenever I want.
I appreciate that insight. I am a crier as well. And I've tried to stop it, but there's no stopping it. I don't even wear makeup because that would just be a waste of time.
Yes, I should probably invest in some waterproof mascara.
So beyond the weddings, you also do studio work. Are you enjoying that? Like, how did you fall into that? Was that a continuation of being in relationship with these couples that you felt so invested in, or how did that work out?
At the time, before I started my business, I was working for a studio in Marlborough. I worked there for 13 years. I started out developing film, and they had a studio attached to their 1 hour photo lab. Remember those?
I do.
And I worked my way into the studio, and after, I would say, 5 or 6 years, I was running the studio. I was one of the main photographers there. I was promoting it. I was shooting it. I was designing the sets. I just took on the whole entire gig. And I always knew I was going to be a photographer since 8th grade. I just knew it. I don't know how. I just always knew I would end up being a photographer. And I'm sorry, what was the question?
Oh, I don't even remember. I want to hear more about 8th grade now. I was asking how the studio work kind of evolved, but it's really that the weddings evolved out of the studio work.
It did. And so when I was working in the studio, it was 1 hour photo lab. We used to have a drive-through, and people would, hundreds of people would bring their film in, and I would develop their film, and then people would come in and say, "Oh, would you mind coming down and taking a picture of a ribbon cutting? We're doing, the mayor's cutting a ribbon for a new business." And my boss would send me out and say, "Go take some pictures of this." And I would do that. And the next thing I know, I was photographing the mayor's ball, or the next thing I know, I was joining a group of photographers on little excursions. And so it kind of just developed, if don't mind the pin, but then from there, I always knew I wanted to open my own studio. So that was my goal. And my husband pushed me. I would not have done it without him. He pushed me, because I couldn't stop talking about it. And he was like, "That is it. We're doing this. Quit your job. Let's go. Here's the money. Open your studio." And so that's what I did.
What a gift. Yeah. Lou.
It was a gift.
Lou is a gift. Lou. I wish everybody a husband who says, "Oh my gosh, follow your dreams, quit your job. Here's the money. You can do it." That is that is a gift.
It is. And so from there, I was still doing weddings. So, I was booked out 2 years. So I was starting my business. And then I got so busy so quickly that I was like, okay, something's got to give. Weddings went on the back burner. And then I just focused on the kids and the families. And that it's been a long time. My first wedding, I think, was 26 years
Oh
ago.
my gosh.
So yeah, and now I'm doing it again, and I'm still photographing the kids, and not, a lot of the kids that I've been photographing are now a lot older. And so it's nice to see them again. And I have some new ones coming in, and new customers. Since I moved to Bolton, it's been nice to meet new clients here with young families. And yeah, so I'm doing a little bit of everything right now, but I really want to kind of zone in on just the things that I love. And weddings is one of them. The babies, I can't give up. I could photograph a newborn baby all day long. Those are my two favorite things. So I'm really going to focus on that this year.
That's so great. I love that.
Yeah.
What is your process? I feel like now I'm like all of these camera words: develop and focus and process. What are some ways that you can tell that this is something you want to do? So, I mean, are you like, how do you feel? I know how you feel about weddings. I know how you feel about newborns now, but is there like, people are saying there's a lot of, listen to your body and listen to your intuition and what's going on. And do you have any I guess what I'm asking is, do you have any practice around that? Are you, what's your process for deciding what you want to do? I mean, you have photography, you could, like you said, you take pictures of landscape when, for fun, like that brings you joy, and what you like to be a part of these beautiful days. And then there's the babies. So how do you keep from overwhelming your calendar and overwhelming your day and just filling it up with what you love?
I'll be honest with you, I am still learning how to do that. When I moved to Bolton 5 years ago, my business was at its peak. I was voted #1 photographer in the Metrowest, and
Congratulations.
I was very proud of that. And 6 months later, I packed it up and decided to make a move. I was spreading myself too thin. We moved to this beautiful town in Bolton. We looked for 2 years for a house, and I knew something needed to give, and I needed to be re-inspired again. So when I moved to Bolton, it really is just what the doctor ordered for me and my business. I had to start kind of over again because I had a great following in, Northborough, Westborough, Southborough, that area. And then of course my regular clients are so loyal. They followed me here.
Which to our listeners is a big deal, because in Massachusetts, if you move to another town, even if it's touching the town that you lived in, everyone considers that you've moved away.
Right.
So
exactly.
Even though like it's not far.
I was 3 exits away from my last studio, and I loved my studio. It was a perfect setting. It was beautiful. We were thrilled. It was really hard to leave there because my studio was doing so well. And but when I got here, I knew something had to give. I wanted to refocus, get re-inspired with all this beautiful nature, and it really worked. I loved the setting. I loved the people here. I loved just getting re-inspired by nature. That's really what I needed. There was a tug that kept pulling me for a couple of years, and I couldn't figure it out. And I was like, why is this not feeling right? I just kept feeling like something's not right. Something's not right. And I think that's what it was. I just needed to be refocused, because there's another word for our film theme here. And when I got here, it took me a year or two to kind of let go. And now everything just opened up for me. And it's been so nice.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I love you sharing that. It's reminding me, there's this concept that I've heard over and over in this personal development universe that I'm floating in, that I heard first a few years ago, and it's one of those things where I thought, I know that this is important and I know it means something, but I don't quite understand it. And it was this idea that the universe doesn't like a void. And so, for example, if there's a rock in the ocean and it gets moved, immediately something fills that in. And so I understand that concept more and more. And especially with what you're saying is that when you take everything away and you're really intentional about what you're letting back in, there's actually space for what's meant for you. And so often I hold on to things because it's either what I think I'm supposed to do, or it's maybe something, well, even with decor. So being a wedding planner for 30 years and being a really inspired shopper and forager and discoverer of fabulous treasures, I see things and I think, oh, there might be a bride that needs this giant, legit bird cage to put over her wedding cake. So pretty. I love this thing. And so I have these things for parties that I might want to have, or parties that someday I'll have, or, wanting to have a bed and breakfast for 2 decades, collecting things and then thinking, oh, I'm never going to have that. So got rid of them. And then now I have a bed and breakfast. So there's, we can create a narrative of why we're holding on to things. But I'm right now in preparation for the new year, really taking a hard look at my things and items in closets. I've lived in this house for 9 years now. So there are things that maybe I thought I was going to do that I'm just not going to do. So I don't need to be a storage facility. And realizing that what that does when we purge the things that are no longer serving us, that it does make space for the things that are meant for us, because the void has been created, but it is quickly going to be filled up with what we need in this season if we allow it and make space for it.
Exactly. And when I was saying that there was just this big pull to do something different, but I didn't know what it was, during that time, it was my husband and I, we were so frustrated. We just couldn't figure out what it was. And then all of a sudden, when we started making decisions that were just solely based on what we wanted and not what everybody else was expecting from us or needed from us, or putting everybody else first, everything just started to just kind of move forward. And it was like this little knock that just wouldn't stop, but you didn't know what door they were knocking at, and it was a big shift for us. So we're just really grateful for all of it.
Oh, it's so beautiful that you were able to experience that together as well.
Yes. Yeah, it was, it was a difficult time because I didn't want to give up my beautiful home and my beautiful studio, my first home, my first studio. It was so, I don't know, I guess I just was attached, and I started to detach things from my life and just open up and say, what else is there for me? And everything just started to kind of open up and come to me, like meeting people like you. So
fun. And then finding out we're right down the street from each other. which is so great.
Exactly.
Oh, goodness. Yes. It's curating the community that you desire. And it changes everything. So just changing up your environment, whether that is going through the closets and getting rid of things like I'm doing right now, or looking at your business and taking out elements that do not bring you joy, looking through your friends list, looking through the interactions. If you actually don't like spending Christmas Eve with the people that you've been spending Christmas Eve with for the last 15 years, you don't have to.
And it's okay.
Yes, it is. And even if you think it's not okay, like they will be okay.
Right.
You being okay will have a ripple effect, and you choosing yourself, you choosing your family, you choosing what's best for you in this season of your life will have a ripple effect.
It does.
And it will be positive.
Yep.
And we can't navigate other people's comfort level anyway. So being in charge, giving yourself permission to do what feels in alignment for you in this season of your life, it's so important, and you won't regret it. And you can change your mind again.
Exactly.
If you wish.
Exactly. I agree. When you're true to who you are, everything changes.
Right. And if you don't know who you are, then take some time. Take some time for yourself. The beginning of the year is a perfect time for self-reflection. And so is March 23rd.
Exactly.
And so is June 7th. And so is July 10th. Like, it's any day is the right time. Just hold space for yourself. And I heard about a journaling practice last year that I did not partake in the challenge of it, but I have often thought about it. And what the women suggested was taking a journal, and every day for 30 days, just answer the question, I want, and just write whatever comes to mind, whatever. I want to go back to bed. I want a chocolate chip cookie for breakfast. I want whatever. Like, you'll just keep writing a page or two, and then shut your journal. Next day, do the same thing. And some days it might be focused on relationships. Some days it might be focused on career, maybe just on health, on your well-being, whatever. And then at the end of the 30 days, to go back and read it and see if there are any repeats. Are there any clues to what you actually desire? And, I think you'll find that you knew that all along. But you might be pleasantly surprised at what it is you want. And, I think that our heart, our intuition, the still small voice that I'm a woman of faith, so I believe that's God. He whispers, and there is a lot of noise. And until we take time to stop and reflect and actually listen.
Amen to that.
We won't hear it. Well, I have loved this conversation, my friend, and I am so excited about what the new year is bringing for both of us. Please tell everybody where they can find you and follow you, and have your fabulous photography skills. You were so gracious to take our holiday card picture this year, and you've done so much for me here at the house. Thank you. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. You can find me at LePetiteStudio.com, and I am on Instagram at LePetite Studio 1, and I am on Facebook at LePetite Studio Photography by Nicole LeBlanc. And I live in Bolton, and I'm sure Wendy will give you all of those details.
I will link everything in the show notes. Thank you so much, my friend. This was delightful.
It is my pleasure. Thanks for having me. Take care.
Bye. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. As always, any links or notes mentioned can be found at phineaswrighthouse.com in the podcast section of our site, or in the show notes below. And if you haven't connected with me personally, come find me on Instagram at Phineas Wrighthouse and let me know you listened to this episode. I'd love to get to know you. Thank you for sharing this time with me. I know your days are full, and I'm really grateful that you chose to spend some of your precious time right here. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any of these delightful conversations. I'll see you next week.